Hi, I'm Eric McGhee, and I'm a research fellow at the Public Policy Institute of California, studying governance and elections. In the last few years, California has considered important reforms meant to boost voter turnout. California adopted an online registration system that allows potential voters to register entirely on the internet. We also adopted same-day registration, where citizens can register and vote in one step after the registration deadline has already passed. And there is talk of changing the way late vote-by-mail ballots are handled so that ballots mailed by Election Day would still be counted. Does California even have a problem getting people to vote? Well, yes. In the early 1990s, California had higher turnout than other states. But since then, it has been slipping. And over the last decade, our turnout has been at or below average. We had an especially poor showing in 2012. But even if our turnout is not great, would the reforms I just mentioned make a difference? Not much. Online registration was used by a lot of people last year, but most of them would have registered anyway. About as many signed up as in previous years. And those people looked about the same as before in terms of age, race and ethnicity, partisanship, and likelihood of actually voting. Likewise, there's been a lot of talk and excitement about same-day registration. Evidence from other states that allow 11th-hour registration and voting suggests the reform will probably bring more people to the polls, but perhaps not as many as some had hoped. At most, an increase of about 4 percentage points. For a state as large as California, that'd still mean hundreds of thousands of new voters, but we shouldn't consider it a game changer. Finally, the idea of counting late vote-by-mail ballots makes a lot of sense. Vote-by-mail has grown much more popular, to the point where over half the voters use that option. That makes it all the more important to be sure it works right. But in terms of turnout, the number of late ballots is extremely small, less than 0.5% of all the vote-by-mail ballots cast, so we shouldn't expect much impact there. Of course, there's another way of thinking about these reforms, not as a question of benefit, but as a question of cost. And that changes the calculus a little. Online registration, for instance, actually saves county registrars time and money and cuts down on errors. Likewise, counting late vote-by-mail ballots adds only minimal hassle, and the benefit of counting an otherwise legitimate vote is large. Same-day registration is a little different. It's a big change for county registrars, with all sorts of new pitfalls. A lot of critics talk about voter fraud, but other same-day registration states have managed that problem quite well. The real issue is the surge of late registrants right before and on Election Day. In other states, even the smallest of these surges has been pretty large. Managing it could be a real challenge. In fact, given this challenge, it might be worth considering a system of automatic registration, where every citizen who interacted with government and provided enough information to be verified for registration would be put on the rolls by default. In other words, voters would have to decide to opt out rather than opt in. The choice to opt out could be made highly visible, so nobody would be forced into being registered if they didn't want to be. Such a system could help even out the boom and bust of same-day registration, and maybe even increase turnout a few more percentage points. Overall, however, improving turnout is hard, and administrative changes can only do so much. Loosening the rules has to be combined with more aggressive efforts at getting people to the polls. It's that mobilization effort, reaching out to hard-to-reach people, that will make the most difference. There's plenty more to come as these reforms continue to roll out, so there will be a lot to keep tabs on. I hope you'll keep coming back for updates as things develop. In the meantime, thanks for tuning in.